whole career has come to this moment. Right now, we're building an intelligence and identity layer for the decentralized internet. Snowball's purpose was to democratize access to information. We came into market trying to be the bridge for the masses as we go through this financial revolution of physical assets turning into digital assets. And now we're on this adventure to solve the identity and reputation problem.
This is the holy grail. This is such a big deal.
We are building an on-chain username that will be self-sovereign. It can be anonymous, and you get one username for the internet. The second thing we're building is on-chain reputation score. We're allowing people to see how valuable they are on-chain, and we're allowing them to do these different actions to be able to make their reputation greater such that they can get more value.
You just rattled off some of your investors, like it's nothing. Co-founder of Twitch, co-founder of YouTube, co-founder of all these major pieces. Why? Why do they say, yeah, I'm in on Parul?
Probably the number one reason is I'm unapologetically, authentically myself. As an entrepreneur, as a man, it's very, very important for you to be as truthful and honest with yourself. And ask yourself, what are your beliefs that may be merited on hope or desire versus actual truth? We are these breath-gasping, heart-throbbing, decaying food for worms, right? We're in this temporary experience. What can we do that actually leaves our mark?
And so what will you leave behind?
Well, I think I'll leave a legacy of allowing people to own their identity on the internet. I want to positively touch the lives of 1 billion or more people by way of the technology that I build, the investments that I do. That's my clear path.
The world is changing. Inspiration is everywhere. It has never been so easy to connect, share, and bring people together. We're learning from others and finding the best in ourselves. Challenging our beliefs, sharing our vulnerability, overcoming our fears, transforming ourselves so we can transform the world. How far can we go?
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is...
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing in crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.
This is London Real. I am Brian Rose. My guest today is Parul Gujral, the blockchain expert, entrepreneur, investor, and advisor. You have been featured in Forbes magazine, spoken on stages from Silicon Valley to Davos, and advised projects that have raised over $200 million across the crypto, AI, venture, and tech ecosystems. You founded Snowball as a mobile app and wallet that's now helped over 300,000 users access decentralized finance. As a launchpad, you've incubated and invested in over 70 projects with an on-chain ambassador program that has over 1 million users and over 350,000 transactions. You're an expert at making products go viral. And your latest innovation, Snowball's modular naming service, is creating the infrastructure for a future where digital identity is no longer fragmented, but unified, composable, and sovereign. Ultimately, you believe that Web3 is on the edge of mass adoption, and that identity, reputation, and user experience are the missing links. Parul, welcome to London Real.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you here. Look, I want to start by saying that Snowball Money is one of our portfolio companies here at London Real Ventures, the world's first media-powered investment firm, where our mission is to transform the world by investing in cutting-edge Web3 and AI companies while giving our partners marketing exposure across the London Real media platforms and academies. We heighten awareness, create customers, and build communities by leveraging our global audience and extensive network. Parul, we are beyond excited to be part of this journey with you. So let's jump in. What is Snowball Money?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the feelings are mutual. It's such an honor to be able to collaborate with you and be aligned with your mission, even going through the process of seeing the studio and what lights you up, what your purpose is. It's so magical to be able to be aligned here energetically. And Snowball's purpose was to democratize access to information. Our mission is to positively touch the lives of 1 billion or more people. And so we've built an amalgamation of different technologies to be able to realize that, whether by way of investing, by way of the products that we've launched in the market. We came into market trying to be the bridge for the masses as we go through this financial revolution of physical assets turning into digital assets. And so we built a mobile wallet that allows people to very easily access decentralized finance. What is decentralized finance? It's the ability to be your own bank and have bank type services by way of self-sovereignty. And so Snowball is available on iOS and Android. Through the years, we've built a number of other technologies. We anonymously fair launched a liquid staking derivatives decentralized exchange. It's a very sophisticated product. Didn't raise any capital for it. Didn't reveal who we were, and we had over $130 million of TVL or deposits that happened. We built a launchpad, which, as you mentioned, incubates, invests, advises, and launches a number of Web3 projects. And we've advised a number of projects. Some of them are unicorn and top 100 market cap projects. And now we're on this adventure to solve the identity and reputation problem. And so let me give you, a high level of what's happening in the world right now. There's 8 billion people in the world today. 3 billion of them do not have access to the internet. They do not have access to smartphones. However, with the advent of technology and Moore's law, companies like SpaceX have launched 60,000 plus satellites, which are now orbiting Earth, creating Wi-Fi for Earth. And the cost for smartphones are going down exponentially. Let me ask you a question. What is the biggest economy in the world?
Interesting. I mean, I used to say it was, some people say it's actually culture is like the biggest economy as people buy the brands that they want and all of the things that they want.
Sure.
Otherwise, I've heard that, it's gaming and things like that. That's bigger than music and movies combined. Mm-hmm. I don't know. You tell me.
Well, here, I'll ask you another question and I'll answer. Where is the biggest population in the world?
Well, I guess India is right up there, right? 1.3 billion or more. Mm-hmm. Probably that is for geography, and then I guess we're in China and then in Africa.
Yeah, so traditionally, you're right, where India, China are the biggest populations, biggest economies seem to be United States. But the way that you answered it is totally spot on. Our perspective is the biggest economy in the world is people who transact on the internet, and the biggest population in the world is people who live on the internet. Mm. And we have 3 billion people who are coming online for the first time in their lives. And where are they going to participate in the global economy? It's going to be on chain, on the internet, right? And so with these people coming online, what's incredibly important is 2 things. 1, your identity. Right? Your identity should be self-sovereign. It should be something that cannot be taken away from you. Yeah. Bitcoin's thesis was it must be trustless, because when governments collapse and the currencies collapse, you should be able to have a source of value that cannot be taken away from you, that's self-sovereign, that doesn't require you to reveal who you are. The second is your reputation online, such that you can see how valuable of a citizen you are on the internet. And you can do things to become more and more valuable, because that will create abundance for you in this future that we live in. And so with that in light, we have built and are launching 2 major projects. One is a multi-chain naming service. What does that mean? You get one username for the internet. and you can connect multiple blockchain addresses. So today, if you're on Ethereum, you have a unique wallet address. If you're on Solana, you have a unique wallet address. If you're on Sui, you have a unique wallet address. Aptos, you have a unique wallet
right
address.
Now.
How do you manage all of this? If I'm to do a transaction with you, Brian, say, you paid $100 for dinner, I owe you $50. So you say, Parul, you owe me $50. I say, great, Brian. I'm happy to send you $50. What currency do you want me to send it in? USDT, USDC, Ethereum, Solana? You say, I want it on USDT. Okay, great. What blockchain do you want me to send it on? Tron, Sui, and you say, I want it on Tron. Great. Okay, what is your wallet address? Well, I don't know what my wallet address is because it's a 39-bit public key, which is encrypted, or public key. So let me copy paste it and send it to you. Okay, let me send you a test transaction. Test transaction received. Great. Okay, let me send you the rest. Like the whole process is broken. So we are building an on-chain username that will be your identity for the internet, self-sovereign. It could be anonymous. It could be at Brian, or it could be at London Real, or it could be at at Legend, whatever you want to be. And the second thing we're building is an on-chain reputation score, where you can see, based on your on-chain history across these multiple chains that you've connected with, how valuable you are. When blockchains launch, or decentralized applications, or DAOs launch, generally what they do is they're trying to identify who the most valuable folks are on chain. It's almost like an oligarchy. If you have Bored Apes in your wallet, if you have millions of dollars in your wallet, if you've done these transactions, these networks are trying to encourage you to come to their network, such that they're giving you an airdrop, which in some cases could be very, very valuable. And so identifying how valuable you are and understanding where value accrual happens is such an important problem for data, especially as we live in this AI agent age. So we're allowing people to have an on-chain reputation score to see how valuable they are on-chain. And we're allowing them to do these different actions to be able to make their reputation greater, such that they can get more value. And on the other side, for protocols, for decentralized applications, we're allowing them to understand who these valuable people are and be able to incentivize them in a way that's legal and compliant by way of giving them tasks such that their activities are aligned. So what are these chains doing? They're trying to find those who are doing on-chain transactions. They're trying to find those who are providing liquidity. They're looking for those builders who have launched smart contracts and have millions of dollars that are going through these smart contracts. They're trying to find those who are making votes in governance. So wherever value accrual happens, we're able to identify that. And we're also able to see who's gotten airdrops in the past. Do they sell it, or do they use those tokens for utility? And so we're building an intelligence and identity layer for the decentralized internet.
This is the holy grail. Like, this is such a big deal. And there's a bunch of people trying to pull it off in different ways. You got Altman's World Coin scanning people's eyes.
Yeah.
You got, I think it was Stanny from Aave created Lens, and it was like this NFT that would follow you around. Yat from Animoca has the Mochaverse.
Yeah.
What do you make of their attempts to try to assign identity, and why is this such a hard thing to figure out?
It's a hard thing to figure out because the attempt has been by creating these closed loop networks. So I guess for the layman, in Muggle talk, how are people transacting today? Let's say you have Venmo, you have PayPal, you have Zelle. I cannot send you a payment from my Venmo to your PayPal, or your PayPal to Zelle. Because these are closed networks. And blockchains are the same. You have these incredible massive networks like the Solanas and Ethereums and the Avalanches and Polygons and Aptoses and the Suis and the Cosmos of the world, which aspire to be interoperable. However, the user experience is horrendous and terrible. Even these identity naming services that have done a great job, like ENS, we're huge fans of them, are closed off to the Ethereum network. And so, these products could be very successful, but we believe that the future should be interoperable, and blockchain should be on the back end, not on the front end. Your intent should be on the front end, and such that it could be realized in the most easiest way that's grandmother tested.
Yeah, this is such a powerful technology, and we've got different investments in our portfolio that really take advantage of knowing someone's identity and getting all sorts of benefits on the back. Because in the blockchain space, it's quite transparent on the activity of those wallets. And so you could be an amazing candidate with an incredible history of receiving airdrops and holding them, or someone who's really creditworthy, or someone who owns Bored Apes, and you might be able to reap all these benefits of being like a VIP customer. And yet, if you can't be identified, you won't get that. Whereas in the real world, you might have a good credit score, and then you can make an investment. But that's, the blockchain has so much more upside for this than the quote unquote real world or the traditional finance world.
Yeah.
So there's a ton of upside here, and I guess you see that as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And blockchain is solving the Byzantine generals problem. Have you heard of this?
I have, yeah.
The old computer science problem.
Yeah.
So how do you have all of these people who don't know each other or trust each other have the ability to work together in a way?
It's like, how do you work together without having to trust each other?
Yeah.
That was that classic Byzantine general. I think it was like a bunch of generals were about to attack the castle, and if they all worked together, they knew they could win. But if one had to go first, they might get punished. So if they had to trust each other, there was a problem. But if they could do it in a trustless manner, then they all won. Something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And if you think of like how governance has happened, it started with, we have democracy, which means one person, one vote. Then you have an aristocracy, where you have elites who make the decisions for society. Then you have a monarchy or dictatorship, where you have a king who's making decisions for society. And then you have corporations, where it's a similar concept. So this Byzantine general problem being solved allows people to create value in the network, almost like a market. And if you're creating value for the network, then you're able to participate in a way, and it's allowing you to do this in a trustless way, such that this network can flourish with people who are building value and receiving that value. And cryptocurrencies as a result of this, right? Because when that value is being distributed for the value that's been created, it's happening through this token. And so this token represents that. And if the value is meaningful solving a problem in the real world, then that token could have value.
And with Snowball Money, you want to focus on the 3 billion people that still aren't online, which means they're most likely not banked at all, as opposed to the 5 billion that are already online?
I think our focus is for everybody, but we understand that the biggest opportunity within the space is that we have all these people that are coming online. And our purpose was to be able to democratize access to information such that everyone has an opportunity to participate in a safe way in this new Web3 world, where value is distributed by those who are giving value to the ecosystem. And so, we're working to start with those who are already online. We're working with those who are already doing transactions. We're working with those who are already giving value to these networks, and then scaling and expanding from there.
Okay. What makes you dangerous, and it's one of the reasons we were really excited to partner and invest in you guys, is that, you started Snowball in 2015.
2018. End of 2017 is when we were working on it, but 2018 is when we started.
And like you said, you're on the iOS App Store. Just so people know, these are not things you hear about in blockchain.
Yeah.
Usually blockchain, nobody has an app because the apps are all banned and nobody has Web2 tech experience, and no one's been around for 7 or 8 years. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And so you bring a lot of experience to the table. You've seen what works. You understand product market fit. You understand app stores. That's really unique in this space, isn't it?
It's very unique in this space because the space is evolving. And when we started Snowball, Bitcoin had gone from its peak of like $17,000, $18,000 all the way down to $3,000.
Wow.
And so there was a 70-80% drawdown. And imagine you're building a company to solve a problem when everyone has lost majority of the capital that they invested. And
I watched a video of you speaking at a conference, I think in 18, when the lows were in, and you were talking about Snowball.
Yeah.
And you're at the stage and you're like, look, I know Bitcoin's down, but you're like, but this is all part of the process.
Yeah.
And like nobody wanted to hear you, but you were right.
Yeah.
You knew this long vision, this North Star, it was coming back. But I've seen you at the lows.
Yeah, I think that, as an entrepreneur, by definition, you're a contrarian, right? It's almost like religion. Why? Because you can see around the corner before we get there. However, you have to create these followers.
what the London Real Investment Club actually does for you. It gives you the keys to open that door to the inside deals. In the last 3 weeks, I've participated in 3 incredible deals: a layer 2 Bitcoin protocol, an incredible AI protocol. The deal flow is beyond what I expected. I don't think I've ever seen a model like this that just gives average folks the opportunity to be behind the deals, and that's exactly what we've done. Not only that, you get to hang out with Brian Rose every week. And for me, that was huge because I look at Brian as somebody who's not only an expert in the space, and I think is on the leading edge, but just the leading edge of thought with London Real and the work he's doing there. To anyone who's taking a serious look at this, I know it's a big decision. It was a big decision for me and my family, and it is one of the best decisions I've ever made. So I wish you all the best and hope you come join us.
And show them what you see that is invisible. And then it is your responsibility to fast forward the present into the future. And if you're right, then we all rejoice in victory. And part of the consequences of being right is, you've generated value for the world, but also it's materially profitable.
Yeah. And so you started back then, you had this vision, and you built kind of in the Web 2 world and in the Web 3 world.
That's
and
right.
that gives you an advantage over a lot of these companies that are, some of them starting in the last 12 or 18 months with these kind of ID systems. And so you've kind of rolled all that back in. You've also gone from being an investor back into being an operator. And this is the other thing that makes you dangerous. Because you and I met years ago, hanging out in Dubai, and I always knew you as Parul the investor.
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, I'm doing investments here and here and here. And then when I heard you were coming back in, I told my team, I'm like, guys like Parul don't come back in unless they're here to knock it out of the park, as we say in cricket, right? Mm-hmm. And so these guys are here not just to build a massive company, but also to build something maybe for their legacy or something that means even more than the money.
Yeah.
And so I always get worried when really savvy, plugged in, successful investors like you come back to operate.
Yeah.
Because it says, uh-oh, this guy's serious. Because it's clearly no longer about the money. It's about impact. It's about changing the world forever. And you're dangerous.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot to unpack here. Number one is understanding where you are as a human going through this process of life. Much like building a product, if you've ever built a product, it starts with inspiration, right? Something that is bigger than yourself. You see a problem that doesn't exist, that you can solve and prove to the world that it exists. Number two, then it goes to the brainstorm. And brainstorming this turns into planning, the product launch. Then you go into the sprint where you're on the grind. Then you get to the quality assurance and you go back into the sprint. And then you go back to, then you become burnt out. And then the process starts again. And so in my process, I've had a lot of successes and a number of failures. But what I've learned is that all of the amalgamation of this experience that I've been so fortunate to have, like having the top, category creating entrepreneurs in the world investing in us, like, the co-founder of Twitch and the co-founder of Call of Duty and the co-founder of Salesforce and the co-founder of Ripple and the co-founder of Rotten Tomatoes and the co-founder of YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. This is wisdom that they've created by creating these categories that I've been so fortunate to inherit and monetize. And so if I can help entrepreneurs do this by way of showing the example, not only by investing, that's incredibly rewarding. But my whole career has come to this moment, coming out of investing, because I see this massive problem and opportunity. And it is a very sophisticated problem, not an easy problem to solve. It's a Herculean endeavor to be able to deploy on 8 blockchains with different programming languages and multiple wallets like MetaMasks of the world and different blockchain explorers, and then bringing up masses of community to actually see around the corner in this like invisible thing before we get there. It's actually such a joy. My unfair advantage is like, I see it. It's very clear to me. And having to have the opportunity cost of investing, advising companies, really means that I really believe in it with the deepest conviction. So here we are on this adventure. It's so much fun. And I get to have conversations with wonderful folks like you and have wonderful folks like you be part of our story, to be able to, like, as an alchemist, take this energy and spread it by way of this problem that we're solving, giving people the ability to have their self-sovereign identity on chain, as well as giving the opportunity for people to know what their reputation is and increase that reputation, because the internet is a place which is like de facto of how we are living our lives, right? The world has gone from having a physical resume to having an Instagram page, which is your online resume. You know, we've gone from boardrooms to Zoom rooms, right? Our identity is become so important, because when you meet potentially a significant other at, you know, a bar or a restaurant, you're not asking for a phone number, you're asking for this like online resume, which shares, you know, who you are, who your friends are, what you're into, you know, what inspires you, how you define yourself. And so we understand, like, we're continuing to move more and more and more into this online space, this box life, living behind a digital screen by way of these digital avatars representing who we are. And that is what the metaverse is, that is what the 3D internet is, and that is what our simulation of life that we're experiencing is.
You know, people are saying now that this online identity, which you're going to champion, is going to become even more important as our AIs and our AI agents become more powerful. And we're really going to need to know if someone is the person they say they are. And so this was always an important issue. And like you said, your online reputation is important. A lot of times I'll meet somebody and I'll send them an article about me running for mayor on the BBC, because it's like, okay, I guess this guy's legit, because this is a legit service talking about something you did that looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
And so you're right, we really are digital identities. If I look at my stepdaughter, you know, she's 21, like, her digital identity is more important in sometimes than her physical identity.
Yeah.
And my boy's even younger than that. You know, who they are on Roblox playing with their friends is maybe more important than the clothes they're wearing. Very different world than maybe when we grew up. But now you got AI in there and all of these potential bots. I mean, Elon posted something on X the other day, said, or somebody said, who here is actually real and not an AI bot?
Yeah.
And so tell me, because you have a lot of experience in AI as well, do you see what you're doing as an important part of defining who is human in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you think of artificial intelligence or AI agents or even AGI, it's running off of data. And we are creating this data such that they could utilize it to fulfill their tasks in a very efficient way. But we're also allowing people to have proof of humanity, and also these AI agents to have names and reputations themselves, such that they can see how valuable they are compared to other AI agents. So really it comes down to creating a cryptographic proof of what you are and giving you credit for the things that you've done, and giving you an incentive on and clarity of how you can improve. And so we're having early talks with major AI protocols to be able to power 150,000 of their AI agents and the community that's interacting with them, to give them clarity, as well as we're requesting platforms. And AI is not the future, it's here today.
Yeah. And the other thing about AI is it needs blockchain more than ever, because AI and these agents are going to require microtransactions and even transactions, and AIs can't get bank accounts. And so crypto is actually custom built for AIs interacting with each other. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And authentication can happen by way of an AI agent. It can make the decisions. And really what matters in this world is intent. It doesn't matter what's underneath, it matters what you're trying to accomplish. And AI is able to find ways and pathways to realize that intent. And over time, we're going to be living in I believe that we're going to be living in absolute abundance, because we have these humanoid robots that are not far away. We have these self-driving cars that will allow us to transfer, our experience from one place to another. We'll be able to have these rocket ships that can, in 30 minutes, travel from Shanghai to San Francisco. And so, with Moore's Law, I'm so excited about the future and the abundance that's inevitable.
Yeah, we just got to live long enough for it. We'll talk about that shortly. One of your biggest issues is scaling. And I guess you got to get out to 3 billion and maybe 8 billion people. How do you do that when everybody else is trying to do the same thing?
Inherently by how you're architecting your business. The projects that go viral, it's usually not by chance. It's by architecting a series of S-curves. And so by designing this positive feedback loops that are rewarding those who are participating, encouraging them to share with other people, it's a very predictable way to grow. So we've created a number of programs, some traditional programs, some untraditional programs, but we have channel partnerships. Fortunately, I've been in the space long enough to have deep, long-standing relationships with the major players, and actually in many cases advised or got to invest early and be part of their journey as well. So our unfair advantage is, not only having those relationships, but the resourcefulness and the architecture to be able to do this, such that scaling is built by design, not a factor of human capital or actually financial capital. It's based off technology.
How important is it, your past of advising companies and even the time you spent in Silicon Valley? Because they are the OGs of product development and product scaling and all of that stuff. You spent quite a bit of time out there, right?
Yeah.
In being immersed in the mentality of that. Even the way you describe it right now, I've never had a guest that's described it the way you do. Everyone's like, oh, we're going to product market this, but you're like, no. It comes down to the design of the product itself.
Yeah.
Can you just speak on how that experience makes you more qualified to build something like this?
Yeah, I think, and I still spend a considerable amount of time in San Francisco. I think it's absolutely mandatory because it is the mecca of technology innovation and AI innovation and projects that have scaled. I think it's an unfair advantage, not only because the serendipity of being around the smartest people in the world for the field of technology, but because it's, I believe in energy, right? So every city has a different energy. If you go to Miami, the energy is going to be upbeat and to party and to socialize. If you go to New York, it's going to be, very fast-paced and, energetically driven to be able to accomplish. If you go to San Francisco, it's to be able to create and to be able to co-create with people. And so I think San Francisco has an unfair advantage for that reason. Like we were sharing this example earlier, you go to a bar and you'll meet, a girl at the bar, and what you'll connect on is, she's a neuroscientist and she's going to share the cutting edge research. And you're inquisitive enough to be able to ask the right questions and listen and understand. And it's coming from a place of shared growth versus an inquisitiveness, not off of ego. So I think that there's real magic in San Francisco. And we've been so fortunate to be able to collaborate with these category creators. John Dillon invented software as a service, the subscription model sharing at salesforce.com. Kevin Lin, from Twitch, they invented the ability to stream. And we're going from this like Web 1, Web 2 to Web 3 world. And what's really important about the Web 3 world is anyone can participate and leverage. In the past, for you to be able to leverage, you needed capital, you needed, resources. But now in this world, you can leverage your wisdom by getting on Twitter, by writing a blog. Where is money being created today and wealth? It's happening by writing code. It's happening by creating content such as yourself, which frankly costs almost nothing. It just takes the ability to know something and share that the world wants. And so understanding the constructs of these from these category creators and fundamentally injecting it into our business has been such an incredible experience, with a number of losses and failures along the way. But I believe that as an entrepreneur, especially if you're an early stage entrepreneur, you have this idea and you bring this idea into a world full of apex predators, right? You go into the ocean and you get breached by the great white sharks that may be the VCs saying, oh, you don't have product market fit, or you don't have enough users, or you don't have enough revenue. You go into the jungle and you get mauled by the bears, who are the regulators that haven't created a legal jurisdiction as well as clear legal outline of how you could find a legal path to success. You go into the mountains and you get clawed by the mountain lions, who are your customers, who may not understand your product or the value proposition. But something very unique happens on this journey. every apex predator you meet, when you meet them and you get clawed or mauled or breached, you don't die, you evolve. And so this constant process of evolution to find that product market fit. And when you do find a product market fit and you're doing something the world needs, then it becomes effortless. You're actually in the flow of the river versus trying to change the direction of it.
So each one of those challenges makes you better and better and better.
Absolutely.
And when you're in Silicon Valley, you bump into more and more of those. Even your fellow VCs are just going to rip you apart over a coffee and say, bro, what are you doing? You don't have the most obvious thing here. Fix that before you even talk about this again, right? Advice you might never get in a London or somewhere else, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because they've spoken to so many people and seen, they've been in battle looking from so many different angles and have this like perspective. It's their job to have these meetings. And so, it's our job to create product and solve a problem. And so that wisdom that is inherited is incredible. And if you can accept it openly, but also decipher what's noise and signal, it will increase the probability for success.
Just tell me more about your journey in crypto, because obviously Snowball Money is on the blockchain and it's using the power of the blockchain in a big way. But I'm curious, like when you got into it and where you think it is now. I mean, Jesus, 2025 now. We've got a sitting vice president of the United States at the Bitcoin conference.
Yeah.
Last year we had a former president, now the current president, speaking at the Bitcoin conference. You just had the Winklevoss twins on stage with David Sachs, the AI and crypto czar, talking about how a year ago they were going to jail. Everybody was going to jail, including Trump, and now they're all being celebrated and empowered. What do you see? Because you've been here as long as those guys have.
Yeah, I think this is a golden age for crypto. Even Paolo, CEO of Tether, refused to come to the United States because of the lack of legal clarity, and now he has come.
Wow.
So I think it all starts with a legal path to success. The previous administrations have been very critical on crypto, and now they're realizing that 10% of the population in the United States participates in this. People of the younger generation are more interested in crypto than they are of stocks. So inevitably, it is going to be the future if we continue on this trajectory. The writing is on the wall. You can see when President Trump went to the Middle East, he was able to get trillions of dollars of investment. Why is the United States powerful? Why is it the most powerful country in the world? Do you know?
Well, some people say it's the military. Some people say it's the innovation. Some people say it's the capital markets. Some people say it's the legal system that backs up those capital markets.
Yeah, so yes, you're right in all of those, but also it's because the power of the US dollar. The US dollar is a global reserve currency. And it wasn't always the global reserve currency.
Right, not before 1945, right? And Bretton Woods and all that.
Exactly.
Post-World War II, it wasn't. And before that, it was the pound, I think, right?
Exactly, it was pound sterling. And so the history of money is money always will continue to evolve, right? We started in this, here are my pebbles for, your rice, right? So we started with a bartering system, and then we created this okay, here's this scarce asset, which is gold and silver, and I have a pouch of it, and we can now transfer this. Then we created, this paper money system where we put the gold in the bank and said, this has more utility. Then we created, and I'm fast forwarding and overgeneralizing, but then you created this paper check, which could now represent more than the dollars that you could actually physically custody and hold. And we created this credit card, which gives you additional utility. And so money was continuing to evolve since its inception to become more and more efficient. And so the next iteration of this is digital assets. And with the legal jurisdiction giving a path to success, we're continuing to have more and more money being poured in. So I'm just really, really fortunate to now recently become an advisor for a major fund. It's a $10.6 billion fund. They've done over $200 billion of annual transactions. And my involvement with them is to help them get into a stablecoin, because we're having a stablecoin gold rush.
Yeah.
And a stablecoin bill was just passed in the United States showing how you can legally launch a stablecoin and what the laws were around this. So there's actual clarity. And because there's an appetite for this, with this current administration, there's a lot of deregulation that's happening, which is allowing free markets to find, products that the world actually wants. And so it's such an exciting time. There's so much investment going in the United States. I think if you look at the fundamentals of the markets, they're absolutely strong. The technicals can be off every now and then when there's major tariffs being threatened. Yeah. But what I see that's happening is these tariffs are renegotiating.
Investment Club. Today, I consider it the best investment that I've ever made. We get 4 projects presented a week by their associated CEOs. Personally, I'm completely blown away by the quality of these projects, and I know of nowhere else where I would be given this same opportunity. Each week that passes, I feel more appreciative of the fact that I'm a member of this group. The vibe was just tremendous. Everybody's on the same wavelength. We just clicked. Everybody listened to each other, enjoyed their company. It was just magical, magical. Take action. Don't take my word for it. Due diligence you need to do. And I really hope that someday down the road I see you in the club. It far exceeded expectations, without question.
The trade deals with the United States. And if tariffs are going to crush the market as they did at the beginning of the year, what will removing the tariffs do? Right? Probably make the market grow. And if we've been able to renegotiate these trade deals and we're seeing that soft banks of the world and Middle East and all of these other countries are pouring in investment and the economics are more profitable for the United States, with Doge cutting what our spend is. I think that United States was on a fast track to bankruptcy as Ray Dalio. But I strongly believe in, here's an example, COVID. COVID was a time that the whole world and all of humanity united for the first time against one common enemy. And what happened? The ozone healed, plants, animals were thriving. It was so good for the world. And what were we able to do within 2 years? We were able to come up with a number of vaccines. Now, right, these vaccines may or may not be serving humanity. That's debatable. I am someone who doesn't personally believe in vaccines, but conceptually, when there is a massive problem, the bigger the problem, the bigger the reward. And the problem that the United States and the opportunity the United States have is because they have the dollar as a global reserve currency, it makes us a superpower. Major countries are backing their treasuries with the US dollars. And the reason why the US dollar is a global reserve currency is because they call it the petrodollar. It's because in Saudi Arabia, they were settling oil trades in US dollars, which means it has the most depth, it has the most volume, and that required countries to come into this. Now, the previous administration had a lot of very strong policies as well as perspectives that led for BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and a number of the fastest developing nations to come together to potentially create this BRICS currency. Yeah. And de-dollarization was one of the biggest threats to the United States. The US has been behind over 100 regime changes in the world since World War II.
It's not been the best look, no. Not
been the best look. If you look at, I don't know if you've ever watched any YouTube videos of Gaddafi.
I think I've seen some of them recently, yeah.
So much wisdom from him. Libya was absolutely flourishing. They had massive gold reserves. Their currency was backed by their gold. They were allowing Europe to be able to buy oil in euros, and they wanted to create an African united currency backed by gold. And given that was a threat to the US dollar, Gaddafi met his end. And so protecting this power is so important. And now with this new administration that has come in, it is very strongly signifying that all of these entities and sovereigns are now re-believing and reinvesting in the dollar. The de-dollarization concept is less. And so what does that mean? Abundance is coming. Legal clarity is coming. If you look at what's recently happened with Pakistan and India, there was a terrorist attack that happened in India.
To continue watching the rest of the episode for free, visit our website londonreal.tv or click the link in the description below.